The number one question that I get from podcasters is how do I grow my audience? But the growth doesn't happen by accident. You can't just post more and hope for the best. True visibility requires a strategic roadmap that is going to get you from where you are to where you want to be. You need a clear message, authority, a social strategy that actually converts, and a system to repurpose it all so you don't burn out. Welcome to Podcasting Unlocked, the show for purpose-driven podcasters. I'm Alicia Galati, founder of Galati Media, and I'm here to share actionable strategies to help you amplify your message and grow your audience. Today, I have curated a masterclass with 4 of our best experts from the podcast to guide you through this exact journey. We're starting with the foundation, which is your message. If your message is confusing, then your marketing will fail. It is that simple. In episode 168, Story Brand Guide Lauren Cockrell gave us a reality check. We are selfish creatures, but in marketing, we have to fight that instinct. Go ahead and listen to how she explains the difference between being a hero and being a guide for your audience.
I mean, that was obviously always the goal, to be crisp and clear, but to do it in a way that was unique to every single client and to really take the focus away from, well, back in 1997, my grandfather started my company with 2 trucks and, 10 offices later, here we are. And you've seen these websites.
Yeah.
And where are you in the customer? Where are you the customer reflected in that? Nowhere. And we can't help it. We are selfish creatures, human beings. Like we're looking at each other on this Riverside app. How many times are you looking at yourself, and how many times are you looking at me?
Yeah.
We're drawn to our own image. If someone says your name in a crowd, you're very tuned into hearing that. It's not a bad thing that we are just innately selfish creatures, but it's helpful to know that. And so when you build out marketing, when you build out communications, if you are presenting an image of success, of what life looks like on the other side of doing business with you, showing what the end result is versus, a blank page of you and your 2 trucks and 10 offices. It's just the results are astounding. And it's just a methodology of making it so easy to do business with you. It's been really transformative. There are story brand guides out there who run a story brand business. Like they really only sell story brand products like brand messaging, website wireframe, sales funnels, all that. We do that as well, but it's really just a part of everything else we do. Like I said, that making sure everything is across the channel, so from your news releases to your social content, to your websites, just your email newsletter, all of that. But the thing in common is keeping your customer first. So it's a really wonderful methodology. I highly recommend people check it out, whether it's the podcast or the books, Building a Story Brand. They also have Marketing Made Simple. There's a university online. There's tons of resources out there if you're doing it yourself. And then, of course, there's guides like me and a couple hundred others around the world who can walk you through it. But, I was saying, put your customer first. Like, you have to show up as the guide, not the hero. So that's why we're certified guides. The customer is the hero. If you think about your favorite movie or story, you think about the person who's struggling through life. There's always someone walking alongside them and helping them through the trials and tribulations. And so that is your job as the business owner to say, like, customer, I know what you are going through. I know whether you're providing a food service, like, I know you're hungry tonight. I'm going to make it easy for you. All you have to do is click here and I'm going to bring you this fresh, delicious meal or whatever that is. And just like really empathizing with their pain and then showing their solution. And so it's really lovely once you get into it and understand it and start to use it. And then as you get more sophisticated with it over time and really dig deeper, like, okay, everyone's frustrated, but like, what's the next level? Like, kind of digging in deeper and getting to know your customers more and more and more and like really understanding what they're going through and being creative with how you deliver that message.
Once your message is sharp, you need eyeballs on it. Most podcasters think that PR is only for big corporations, but Mickey Kennedy, who was on episode 176, shared a brilliant and very sneaky strategy to get your show featured in newspapers and trade publications alongside those bigger corporations, podcasts, and businesses. This is the top 10 strategy. Yeah.
Another thing I've seen some podcasters do that works, and it's surprising how well this works. It's not going to work with the New York Times. It's not going to work with a lot of the big news outlets. But when you go on the wire, it's full of, every newspaper nationwide, it goes to the wire. So you can take basically a finished article format and send it out as a press release. But the one I've seen that works really well is top 10 podcast in your niche. And so if your niche is podcast marketing, you could say, so and so has released the top 10 list and discusses podcast marketing. And then put 9 of the 10 podcasts that everyone expects to be there, that anybody would recognize, the really big ones, the ones that people want. It shows that you've researched it well, you know the subject matter really well. These are a very tight 9 that you should see. And buried within there, you're going to be the 10th one. Your podcast is going to be in there. I've seen so many people copy and paste those top 10 lists and include them on in their newspapers and other places. It's just great free content. They've got a little bit of space. They copy and paste that. Even trade publications and stuff like that will do that. And when they see so many good ones, they just assume they're all good. And so you might be new, but why not? I've seen that work many, many times. And it's just a way to sort of just enclose yourself. I call it sort of like putting the pill in the cheese. You've surrounded yourself with this really delectable thing that they see as really great content. And they don't notice that you're that little pill down there that, may not have yet proven yourself in the space. But a lot of people are going to say, read it and say, oh, I know most of these. Oh, what's this one? I haven't seen it. They will gravitate to you. And you don't have to put yourself as number 1 or at the end. Just bury yourself somewhere in there.
You have the message. You have the authority. Now let's talk social media. It's easy to post random clips, but are they actually driving listeners? In episode 229, Katie Brinkley broke down her awareness to action strategy. This is exactly how you want to structure your posts to move someone from stranger into subscriber.
So the awareness to action strategy is you're kind of doing step 2 of the awareness to action strategies. The awareness post is typically making people problem aware. So let's just say you're going to promote this podcast with me to your audience. The awareness post, we'll just say for Instagram, would be maybe making a reel. How often are you actually promoting your podcast? Do you make a bold statement, or maybe you say a strong hook for it? Like, I bet 20% of you don't even promote your podcast and you have some good audio or something like that. Like, you're doing a reel, just making it something so that more people get seen. You're making people problem aware of, hey, you're not even promoting your podcast the right way. So that's your very first post. You're not even talking about this podcast episode. You're just making people, again, problem aware. The next post is going to be the elaboration post, your carousel that you just explained so eloquently. Giving the tips, talking about how you can solve it, adding me in as a collaborator, and saying like, this is how you can do it the right way. And promote your podcast the right way, and giving those clear examples. The third post would be a community post and say, hey, this is how I changed. Like, these are the results I saw once I started adding in collaborators on my Instagram posts. Here's a picture of what my metrics were without a collaborator, and here it is with a collaborator. And you can maybe it's just an image of the data side by side, and you're sharing that, and that's the stuff people are going to resonate with and say like, yeah, look at that. She's done it. She's actually doing the work. I can trust her. So now, if you think about it, we've positioned you as the thought leader. We have now shown them that, hey, they can know, like, and trust you because you've done what they look to do, because you walk the walk, you can talk the talk. And now for the final post, hey, by the way, I sit down with Katie Brinkley in this week's podcast episode. You can share a screenshot of us. Maybe we're using an Opus clip or something, I don't know, from the podcast episode, whatever it is. And you can share something saying like, I sit down with Katie Brinkley. We talk all about how you can promote your podcast the right way on this week's episode so that you can get more reach, more engagement, and more downloads. Comment podcast below and I'll send you the link.
And finally, if you try to do all of this on one single platform, you will most likely quit. Consistency is queen, but capacity is key, as I like to say. Deirdre Tsen from Cap Show on episode 211 gave us the permission that we needed. Stop trying to be everywhere.
If we want an outcome, a particular outcome from any activity that we're doing, we need to be really quite intentional about where we are and how we're doing it. And so I know that a lot of people are kind of jumping off. It seems like they're jumping off the social media bandwagon, but I'm just going to use it as an example because it's just like the simplest thing. We know that there are multiple social media platforms and it is relatively simple to be on all of them. But the problem is, because I did this myself, on all of them, but the content that we were creating was not purpose fit for that platform. The conversation, like I wasn't actually actively reaching out and trying to activate that platform and therefore get my content seen, which is a big, big problem. So if you don't have the time to do some of that heavy lifting, then you've got to realize that it's probably not worth your time being on that platform at all. So for me, and I talk to, some of my good friends who are actually experts in the social media space, and 1 or 2 platforms max is really what we should be focusing on. And I think repurposing as a broad term can very much have this feeling of like, well, it's every single platform, it's like everywhere. But I think that's a really big pitfall that we can fall into where it's like, hey, let's repurpose because that's a smart thing to do and an efficient thing to do, but let's repurpose with intention where we're only going to really focus on 1 or 2 platforms and really make those platforms work for us. Even though Capture itself can help you be on all platforms, we're always like, we say to people who on board with us and who are new to the ecosystem, be like, you'll see that it can do everything, but please don't. Like, just choose the 1 or 2 things that you want it to do and really, really dial that in before you even try to open up a new channel.
There's your roadmap. Clarify your message so your customer is the hero. Use creative PR like the top 10 list to build your authority. Use a strategic 4-post social plan to drive action for your audience. And then finally, pick 1 or 2 platforms and ignore the rest. If you implement just one of these layers this month, you will see a shift in your visibility. I've linked the full episodes for all of these amazing experts in the show notes and the YouTube description. Go ahead and go deeper with one that really resonated with you today. And I'd love to know where you're getting started. You can drop a comment below either on Spotify or some of the other podcast listening apps. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can also drop a comment below. Let me know, what is that strategy that you are going to start with this month? All right, until next time, happy podcasting.